Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 5-0 podcast. This is your host, Haley. Today, I am here with Brian Driscoll, aka Detective Diddy. You may recognize him from social media, but the real Brian is a third-generation law enforcement officer, husband, father, public speaker, outspoken advocate, and he is a father of a child with special needs, and we're going to get into that and what he does for that community later on. But for our listeners who don't know who you are, give us a quick bio about yourself, and then we will peel back the layers of everything that we talked about above and more.
Awesome. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
So my name is Brian. I live in New York. I was born and raised in Oceanside, New York. I have a brother, and I'm a third-generation police officer.
Is your brother a police officer too?
No, he's a bartender. He wanted nothing to do with the police life.
Okay, that's so funny because I feel like one day I could just quit this job and be a bartender tomorrow.
Sometimes I want to just become a bartender.
I know, me too.
I mean,
I
maybe
feel
even a librarian.
Yeah, I feel like it's a very similar job, actually, bartending, honestly.
It is. You got to be a people's person. So
You gotta be. So there's the first question I always ask all my guests, just because I like to get like the background of just like who you are as a person. Tell us about your family life and growing up.
I grew up in it's probably a larger town. There's 30,000 residents in our town. A pretty big high school, around 1,000 students in the high school. I played lacrosse in high school, played roller hockey, and again, I grew up in a police officer family. My direct family in the three generations is a little over 120 years. With my cousins, it's over 220 years of service to the same police department, which is really awesome. It's probably not too many people out there with that many years of service. So as a kid, that's always what I wanted to be, the family business.
Yeah. That was one of my questions actually, is if it was all at the same department. That's
Yeah,
wild.
all at the same department in New York City.
Wow. Okay, so my next question was what inspired you to become a police officer? Was it fully that fact or it was also, other factors as well?
Well, even as a kid and still to this day, I love giving back to the community. I'm involved in a million things in town and organizations helping out the community. So I mean that was always part of it. But being a third generation cop, that was the main thing. Hearing all the stories as a kid, it definitely inspired me to become a police officer.
Yeah, my dad's a cop too, so I get it. Like it's kind of like you watch them, and especially if your parent is proud of what they do and like love what they do, you watch them go to work every day growing
Oh
up,
yeah,
right? And if they love their job, you're like, well, I want to love my job too if I'm going to have a job, right?
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a major part in it. You hear these stories and it's like, oh my God, I need to do that when I grow up.
Yeah, exactly. So, your background in policing. What units have you worked in and what's been your favorite experience and what's been your least favorite experience?
Um, so I started, obviously everyone goes to the police academy, graduated the academy. I went to a smaller, slower precinct in the city. That's a beach community, which is really it's pretty cool. I mean, there's not too many of them. Well, there are where I live, but in New York City, there's only a few precincts that are on the water. But it's a really cool experience. And I started in FTU training, and I worked my way up. There in New York City, there's the regular police department. There's transit, which covers the subways, and then there's the housing police. They all merged together in 1995. So in the Rockaways where I first started working, there was no housing unit. So I put in for that, and it was an arrest unit. There was a lot of shootings, crime, drug sales. So we had a lot of drug arrests, gun arrests, and I then worked with the FIO, which is the field intelligence officer. and they're the ones who execute the search warrants. They sign up CIs and inform central informants and buy drugs and guns. So I did that for a year, and then I went up to the squad in the same building. So I investigated a lot of crimes there, which it was actually a good thing having a cop that worked in that precinct. It's a little bit different than the other precincts because it's on a peninsula. So people are not coming in from outside precincts to commit the crimes, that they all live in the same community. So knowing all these guys working in that housing unit was a big help. When you get these guys, you talk to them, confessions, things like that. Um, After that, I was in the squad for a few years, and I decided I had a really bad a burn case of a child where the mother burned the baby from the
Oh
waist
my
down.
God.
He was 3 years old for soiling his diaper,
Oh
and
my God.
yeah, it was awful. And at that point, I kind of said, I think I want to do this. I enjoy working the kid cases and be able to advocate for the kids that can't speak for themselves. So it just so happened that my supervisor, a year or two later, she went to the child abuse squad and she said, "Why don't you come over?" And I said, "Absolutely, I would love to do that." So I spent the next 12 years working in the child abuse squad, investigating, crimes against children, which was very rewarding. Being able, like I said, being able to advocate for children that can't speak for themselves. So I had a lot of great experiences there, helping children, helping families, and it's not just being a detective there. It's a little bit more, which it's very rewarding. And I spent the
Feel
next
like you have to have like a certain type of personality to do that job too. It's like you said, it's more than just detective work because you going into those homes and talking to the parents or the kids, like you have to be a certain type of person. You can't just be any cop. You really just can't.
absolutely, and from the start, I worked with some real senior guys, and the approach. I One of my good friends, I'm still friends with him to this day. He's been retired for 13, 14 years now, but he taught me you always treat people with respect. A lot of cops out there, they're loud, they yell, they think that's going to get the point across. It's being respectful, and if they treat you with respect, you're going to treat the same thing. It reciprocates. But I always treated everybody with respect, and it goes a long way. That's when people would talk to you in the precinct. They'd pull you aside, they'd call you. I had a good rapport with everybody. The worst of the worst guys, I had a good rapport with, and where they would hate the other cops that were just disrespectful.
Yep. Yep. What was your least favorite thing that you've done in policing?
But to be honest with you, I think I've enjoyed every minute of it. To be honest with you, it's there's a lot of disgruntled people out there that say, "Oh, the job is dead. The job sucks." I've always had a great experience. I was always a worker, and when I applied for a unit, I would usually get it. I put my time in, hard work, so I
Yeah.
never really had too many bad experiences. I mean, you have your bad experiences where someone dies and you have to make the notification. Um, you have a radio run for a suicide, and it's just you see some really awful things. I mean, that's the worst part, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I couldn't say like there was moments where I've like done like a unit and I thought it was gonna suck and then I ended up loving it. So it's like, you always
Yeah,
make the best of it. It's if
yeah.
you're a positive person. Um, so in law enforcement, um, I've been open with like some struggles that I've had in this career. Have you personally faced any struggles being in law enforcement?
Well, to be honest, and I know we're gonna get to that later, but my largest struggle was when my son Liam was born, and he
Yep.
was in and out of the hospital all the time. Um, yeah, he was born and in 2016, and at the hospital they gave a hearing test. He failed the hearing test, and they heard a murmur, So immediately they called the heart specialist in and they checked him and they said he's going to need surgery at 3 months. Uh, but 3 months and 6 months, we're going to monitor it. And when the time is right, we're going to do it. We got to get him eating. We got to get him growing. And when the time is right, we're going to have him have that surgery. So he was born with tetralogy of Fallot. That means that there's a hole in his heart between the two chambers. So unoxygenated blood could rush into the oxygenated side, and that's when you turn blue and you're basically not breathing. So at 3 months, he had to have open heart surgery. Those first 3 months, he was in and out of the hospital. He'd be in the hospital for a week. He'd be home for 2 weeks. He'd be back in the hospital for 2 weeks. It was ongoing for the first 2 years of his life. So it was a big struggle. And you know the way it is in the police department. It's like everybody's a scammer. Everything's a scam, and I'm in and out of work, and
I already was thinking that,
yeah, I
like,
mean
you're
that's
taking days off, and people were probably like, "Oh, he's taking another day off."
they know
Not
what's going
even,
on, but still, it's always a problem. It's like people have no, you know, they no concern for anybody. It's like,
yep,
so this kid's in the hospital for 2 weeks. I'm back for a week, and I'm catching cases immediately, and I probably shouldn't have been because it was in and out of the hospital the whole time. But I'm back to catching cases, and I'm getting them done as fast as I can because I know he's going to be back in the hospital again. And the first thing, I'm out for 2 weeks in the hospital. The first thing is, oh, Brian's back. He's up first on the catch because I haven't caught for 2 weeks. So it's like, oh my god, that's the first thing these people are concerned about. It's not how's your son doing. It's like, oh, he's up
right.
first because everybody's concerned about catching that case. That's what your job is. Your job is to catch cases. So I don't understand what the issue is all the time. But that was the biggest struggle. The first 3 years
Yeah.
in and out of the hospital, and you know, barely making any money because all my overtime I worked for time because I was out so much.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
it was tough.
Wow. Yeah. How do you think, and obviously we'll talk about that, but how do you think all of that shaped you as, like, an officer and as a person?
It definitely, it just to have a heart and realize that people do have things going on. It's not just about work. There is things going on at home, and you have to understand that about people. And I'll be the first person to ask someone, "How are you doing? What's going on? Is there anything I could do for you?" So I mean, and that's a very important thing, especially now. I mean, that's all you hear is cops committing suicide. So I
Yeah.
mean, you know, do you want to be that person who's you're up first? I mean, there's so much that could be going on in that person's life. Maybe you should have a conversation with them. If you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So you spent a long time, I believe it's 14 years as, a sex crimes against children, and you're a father yourself. Was it hard to balance being a father and then doing these jobs with children? How did you, like, turn that off when you came home?
People. That's the first question everybody asks, and I don't know. It just for whatever reason, I've done this before I had kids, and it never really bothered me. I think I was always able to turn it off. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you see some awful things, and it sticks with you. You can't sleep, but for the most part, it's like I don't know. I just I'm able to turn it off somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do, like, we're able to turn it off, but there's been certain calls that I've been able to turn it off, and, like, with my partners who have children, they're like, "Just wait until you have kids, Haley. This is gonna
Yeah,
be more difficult." So I wouldn't know because I don't have, well, I'm a stepmom, so I get it
yeah.
a little bit more now, definitely, but, like, I can't even imagine, like, you seeing, like, maybe if your son's 7 and you go on a job with another 7-year-old boy and you can't help but, like, compare, like, your life and your son, like, thank God, this isn't happening to him, but, like, I don't know how you piece it together, but
And a
it's
lot of
just
time,
a way you turn it off.
I think you're able to make a better connection with these children when
Yeah,
you could relate to them.
yeah.
It's funny. You always you got to get to their level, and I was very good at talking to these kids. I've probably interviewed over 1,000 children.
Yeah.
I did it for a very long time, and I was very good at it. And it's just being able to you have to be able to talk to a child also. But I think if you could talk to a child, you could interview anybody. You can get a confession from anybody if you could master the art of talking to a child.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what piece of advice would you give to parents to like better safeguard their children from these types of crimes?
I think the most important aspect is having being able to have an open dialogue with your parents, and you have to always have that. And because some of these kids are afraid, they're afraid to tell their parents because you know they're gonna hate me. They're never gonna talk to me again. I'm wrong. So you always have to be open with them, and you have to have these conversations. I mean, I feel like it gets worse and worse throughout the years. You just hear these stories, but you have to be open. Most of these kids, they're deathly afraid to tell their parents, and it's hard sometimes for them to tell you. Finally, you get them to open up, and it's like, listen, I'm gonna help you. We have to talk to your parents. We have to let them know. If you want me to help you, I'll help you. But for the most part, we work with them and get them to open up to their parents, and we have counselors that also assist. But that's definitely the number one. You have to have an open dialogue with your children.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I we try like with our stepson to just like tell or and my, my fiance's son to just tell him like if anything's going on in school, like just tell us, tell your teacher, like it's okay to be open. I think even like nowadays, I'm still like there's still things I'm afraid to tell my parents.
Yeah,
They're so open and, like, kind, and I don't know why. Like, I'm in my 30s, but, like and then it's funny because once I tell them it's met with so much kindness. So it's like I remember back when I was in college, I was at a house party, and I got a drinking ticket. It was like $100, like, ticket, and I wasn't so everyone ran away from the cops when the cops got there. And I sat there and I stayed because my dad's a cop. I'm not gonna go running and I'm not gonna like, do anything
yeah.
bad. So of course I was one of the people who got these tickets. And I remember feeling sick for like 5 days, couldn't sleep because I didn't know how I was gonna tell my
Yep,
parents.
yep.
And when I finally called my dad, he just started laughing and he's like, "That's it? You were scared to tell me that?" He's like, "You're in college. Like, it's
Exactly.
fine. No big deal. Like, who cares? I'll send you the $100." It's just so funny, like I think about it all the time of how I could not sleep. But yeah, it's like you gotta just be open because you never
Oh yeah.
like because what kids don't realize too is, like, we've been through it all. Like, we've been there. Like, you think this is, like, our first rodeo? Like,
Yep.
no. You getting bullied? We've got bullied.
Yep.
You scared to, like, ask this girl or guy on a date? Like, we've been there. Like,
Yep.
we've
Absolutely.
everything.
Yep.
So, you're a third generation police officer. How would you feel if any of your children wanted to become a police officer too?
I wouldn't be against it, but it, just I'm going back on what I just said before. The job is that it's not dead, but it's different. It's very different. But you know what? It's been different in every generation. The three
Yeah.
generations. All my father probably said it. My grandfather probably said it. It changes, and it's a very difficult job right now. It's the most difficult it's ever been in the history of any police officer to become a police officer. Now it's very tough. I mean, if he wanted to do it, I would encourage him, but I don't know. I'd rather him find a different line of work, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Maybe something a little bit more like a teacher or something.
Yeah,
Like,
a
yeah.
gym teacher, a,
Yeah.
a union worker. There's so many jobs out there, and
Yes.
he's not the best of students. My oldest son Declan, but I'd prefer him to go to a trade school and learn a trade, and you know,
Honestly, I wish, I did that too, and, like, even if he still becomes a police officer, having, like to know a trade or having a side job or have
oh
a
yeah,
backup plan is always the best.
oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
or become a firefighter. Then you have
Yeah,
plenty of
do
time to
that.
use that trade.
Yes. Yeah, you'll have the time.
Yep.
So you're really outspoken and you put yourself out there on social media, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram. How did you get started?
You know, TikTok, I always thought it's the dancing thing for little girls, and COVID happened, and it's like, let me swipe through it. And it's like, it's cool. And the cool part of TikTok was you start liking videos. The next thing you know, now I'm in the cop side of TikTok,
Yeah.
and it's all police videos, all law enforcement videos. It's not like that anymore. I don't know what happened, but that's what it was. And I became friends with a lot of law enforcement officers all over the country. And I've made some really close friends on there. Some of my friends will still make fun of me, but it's like you have no clue. It's not what you think. It's really the best thing ever. I mean, at the time there was that app House Party. Did you have that? It
No.
was basically like a Zoom thing, but it was like a fun thing. You come into the house party, and it's a box grid, like a Zoom thing. And there'd
Uh-huh.
be 10 people in there, and you could play games. You could play Uno. It was really cool.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, we just jump in, you have conversation with people. I'd be on the way into work talking to people. I met so many good friends on TikTok. And then, we'd have it was an issue with one of the friends, their department, they didn't have vests. For whatever reason, they had to get their own vest, and
What?
they didn't make them wear vests unless it was
What?
bizarre.
Where the hell was that?
Down in Louisiana, I think.
Oh my God.
It's either that or she was supposed to have one and she didn't have one and she was, I don't know. But so we did a fundraiser, we got her a vest. The next thing you know, K9 Arlo got shot, and we did
Yeah.
fundraisers and we got two K9s vests in, I think it was South Carolina. And we did fundraisers for families for that were in need. And it was a great experience. I mean, we got burned once, which was the most awful thing ever. A girl told us, it was a law enforcement group. Like everybody was law
Of
enforcement. This
course.
girl
Yeah.
said she was a probation officer. She had breast cancer. She was in the hospital and she was having surgery, and she had no money. Her kids, she hasn't been working. We did a fundraiser for her. Turned out she didn't have breast cancer. The
Oh
sister
my
reached out to
God.
me. Yeah, sister reached out to me on Instagram. She goes, I got to tell you something. I'm sick to my stomach. My sister's lying to you. She does not have breast cancer. So now
Holy
we
shit.
raised like $10,000 for this girl.
Was she an officer?
No, she made
She
that
was just,
up.
oh my God.
She made the whole thing up. She played all of us. There was 20 cops. We were all friends. Like she's one of the people in the group. I mean, they had a meetup down in Nashville, I think, and or no, well, it was somewhere down south. A whole group of them went. I wasn't there. She was there. It was just,
You're kidding.
yeah, unbelievable.
What do you
So
even do? You just give it up? I mean,
she gave all that money back. There was law
oh,
enforcement involved. They were gonna have her arrested.
oh my God.
It was awful. I mean,
What a strange lady.
you hear about scammers on the internet all the time. It's
Yeah, but
disgusting. But
damn, to go in person and everything? Jeez.
to beat a group of cops, like this is a group of cops raising money for
Like
you.
that's pretty ballsy. Oh my God.
And for us to believe it, I mean, I would have never thought she was lying.
Right.
But it turned out she worked for a law enforcement department, but she was some administrative person. So she'd be outside of the building. Oh, she's definitely a cop. The precinct's right there.
My God.
Crazy.
Wow.
Be aware of
Yeah, that's
scammers out
how,
there.
yeah. That's how I found you though, like through TikTok too.
Yeah, I mean, I've made so many friends, so many group. So then I started an apparel company with my friend with Prince, and my friend Gigi and Bo and Tommy. We started an apparel company, and it was an amazing thing. And we would again, we were raising money for people. I don't think we even made any money with the apparel company. It was just donating to everybody. It
I
was
don't make any money with my apparel
yeah.
company
So
either.
we were donating
None.
everything. We were donating everything,
Yep.
and it was awesome. Like we gave so much stuff away. There were people that didn't have clothes, houses that burnt down. We send them clothing. We raised money for law enforcement families, for children with disabilities, because Gigi has a child with disabilities as well. So we were raising money for so many things. American Heart Association. For 3 years, we did fundraisers for Heart Day, International Heart Day, and I think that's September, and then Heart Month in February. So I think we were up close to 30,000 we raised for the American Heart Association on TikTok.
Oh my
We
God.
would, if we hit a certain amount, you'd have to eat a hot, well, no, not the Dorito thing was the worst thing I've ever had. The one
The
chip
spicy
challenge.
chip
Oh
thing.
my
Yeah.
God. I did that twice, but it was worth it. We
Forgot
raised a
all
lot of
those
money.
challenges we
Yeah,
had during COVID.
the the jelly bean contest, the tens machine. If we hit a certain amount, you hook the tens machine up to you and try to drink a beer or water, whatever it was, and your arm is cranking so much from that, your muscles being stimulated, just soaking wet. I mean, people love that. We'd have 300, 400 people in the live just laughing their asses off. It was so many great experiences on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, when you put it like that, like truly, I have connected with so many people through social
Yeah.
media. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if it wasn't for
Yep.
social media. So it's obviously influenced your life in a positive way. You've been able to help people, advocate for people, but you've also shared a lot about yourself. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but your son Liam, he was born with a rare condition called ATRX syndrome,
Yes.
with only about 500 cases worldwide. Can you tell us more about what ATRX syndrome is? And then we'll get more into it.
Basically, I mean, you could Google it, and there is not too much information on it. So it's so
I
rare.
did Google it and
Yeah,
I
it's a
couldn't really
paragraph, right?
understand.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I
eh,
was like, this
And
doesn't really tell me what.
yeah, it doesn't. I even Googled it before. I'm like, just to get so I could spit out a really good explanation. But it's basically cognitive delays, low muscle tone. Uh, he's got microcephaly, which his head is smaller than a normal child. He's vision impaired. He's
Wow.
has permanent hearing loss, but I mean that's not all part of the syndrome, but it all ties together. He's not
Yeah.
walking, talking, sitting up. He's 8 years old now. He's the happiest kid you'll ever meet, but it's just so many things going on. So many surgeries he's had, but
Wow.
I mean it's similar to the other syndromes. They all intertwine, a lot of them. But yeah, he's very behind. He goes to a specialized school. It's all of his therapies there, and no, he's the happiest kid you will ever meet. He really is.
I know. I see him in your videos. He looks so happy. You guys all have so much fun.
Sometimes
How
he's
do,
probably like, "Oh God, help me, stop it."
yeah, it's like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. How does your other son, how do you help your other son understand? How old's your other son?
Declan is 10, so he's 2 years
10.
older.
Okay, so he's
Yeah,
still young.
yeah.
How do you help Declan understand like what's going on with Liam, or how has Declan like been a brother to someone with special needs?
He's an amazing brother. He really is. He always has been. And let me tell you that ages you quickly as a child when your sibling.
Yes.
A lot of your
Yes.
attention goes to your sibling, and he's grown. He's a lot older than most kids his age. He's very responsible with his brother. He'll help out. He helps out with his feeding tube. That's another thing. He eats by feeding tube right into his stomach. Declan's the first one to help out. He doesn't like changing diapers, but he'll help. But he's a really good kid. Like I said, it ages you. He's very smart, and he'll do anything for his brother. He loves his brother. But when he was younger, it was difficult. Why is he not? Why can't I play with my brother like my
Yeah.
friends do? Like why? It's hard to
Yeah.
explain to him.
Yeah. Yeah, because my stepson's 8 and we were at the gas station the other day and this person was like limping, like weird walking in. And obviously that's nothing to me,
Yeah,
whatever. But he was like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you walking like all weird? Like what's going on?" And said it to the guy. And I know he means no harm at
yeah.
all.
No,
And I
absolutely.
actually made him go up to the guy and apologize in the gas station
Yeah.
and give him a hug. And that man almost broke down in tears when Kaysen hugged him and said, "I'm sorry for saying that, sir." And the man, he looked at me and he was like, "Thank you so much for teaching your child, like, that, what he said wasn't okay." And I said, "Of course," and he goes, "I know he doesn't know, I don't take it personal, but for you to tell him and correct him." And, there's been, he's only 8, but I can only imagine, like you said, how fast your son had to grow up, because I'm sure that your son is like an advocate for other
Oh
children,
yeah, no, he absolutely
because
is.
because normally other 10-year-olds, if they see something, they're gonna be like, they're not gonna understand. And your son is probably the one like, don't
Yep,
say that. People are
absolutely.
different.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
and you think kids are the problem. It's more the adults. I mean,
Yeah.
you're pushing him around in a wheelchair, and everybody's looking at him like, "What's wrong with that?" It's like it's disgust. And I think
Wow.
it's the exact opposite of your son asking what's wrong with him. I would rather them say what's wrong with Liam, and you can explain to him, yeah, he's different.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
staring, I think staring is even more rude.
Yeah. No,
Instead of
for sure.
your son staring at him, I'd rather him ask. But I guess you got to ask a little bit more polite, or I don't know how
Yeah.
he asked that
What's
upset you,
wrong with
but
you? Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, no, stop.
but
No.
some of these adults, they're worse than the kids.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Honestly. Yeah. Uh, people have people have become really soulless these
Yeah.
days, honestly.
But a lot of kids ask, and I think that's important that a kid
They're
ask because then
curious. Yeah.
and you explain to them, they're like, oh, okay, he's different.
Yeah.
There's one kid that at the beach, we belong to a beach club. I don't know, it's hard to explain because not too many. I don't know how many beach clubs there are, but basically there's cabanas. It's like 10 rows of cabanas. There are these 10, 8 by 10 or 12 by 8 little rooms that you close the
Uh-huh.
doors at the end. You put a refrigerator in there. You
Oh,
have a
fun.
changing room, a little kitchen area, and then you just hang out at the beach all day, which is awesome. But there's this
Yeah.
little kid, he comes up all the time, and I think um he's got some kind of cognitive delays too, but he always asks, well, why is he such a big baby? He's the same age as you. He's like, no, he's not the same. No, he's the same age as you. Why is he still have a pacifier in his mouth? And you gotta explain to him. Or explain
Uh-huh.
to a lot of kids come up and they ask because we have a pack and play set up at the beach, and this big 8-year-old laying in the pack and play. So a lot of kids ask, but I'd rather you
Yeah.
ask than stare or talk about them.
No,
I think
that's
you can
like a good
explain to them.
lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, instead of staring. I feel like if I like see someone, I like smile, or like, like I like give like, I don't know how you give like your heart to someone without saying something, but
yeah.
like, hold a door or something, anything that you can do. But
After these kids ask, they'll come up to him every day now. They'll say hi to him. They'll hold his hand.
that's
It's
so
just
nice.
that's why I think it is important you have to advocate for these kids and let people
Yes.
know.
Yeah, no, for sure. So how do you balance like being a police officer, being a parent to a child with special needs, doing your social media, doing your fundraising? Like, how do you how do you do it all? Because I know our schedules are crazy. I know
Yep.
firsthand. How do you do it? And you're married. Like, how do you keep it all together?
Yeah, with us, I don't know. You guys do 12-hour tours or
Yeah,
so we do 8.5 hours, and it ends up turning into 10 hours with overtime, and then
always. Yeah.
an hour each way. It ends up turning to 13, 14-hour days. And you really don't have much to do. You have your 2 days off a week, and it's cramming everything in there.
Yep.
I still have the apparel company. I'm trying to you know, did an order for the basketball team, the town's high school basketball team, and I was planning on doing it yesterday, but we did a podcast for the Chamber of Commerce podcast because I'm involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and
Wow.
now I'm home trying to edit this last night and meeting for another nonprofit that we do. It's a lot. I mean, it's difficult. I had to take off today just to be able to finish everything that I didn't do this weekend. I mean,
Right.
it's a lot, and I overextend myself, and even now just started another 501(c)(3 for
Oh
Liam.
my gosh.
I want to start
Yes,
a baseball program for children with special needs. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's awesome,
I
and that's
did. Yeah.
one of the things that I one of the fundraisers we did on TikTok was going to Michigan to a Miracle League field and raise money for them. Which is Miracle League is a league for children with disabilities to be able to play baseball, which was the best experience of my life. Just to be able to see these kids hit the ball, even if it's with your assistants, and wheel them to first base, wheel them to second, wheel them
Oh
to
my
third,
gosh.
wheel them home, and then they're greeted at home by 10 people cheering them on, slapping them high five. It was the best experience of my life to see how happy these kids were, and I said I want to bring that to Long Island. So they do have a couple programs like it, but the way I want to do it, I want it to be completely different than the other ones. I want this to be a mini stadium. I want their siblings to come there to watch them and be like, why does he get to play on this field and not me? I want it to be the best experience for
Yes.
these kids. That's my goal. I want to be able to have a press box where you have an announcer, a DJ, regular stadium seating, like at a baseball field, not just the bench seating. I want it to be the best experience for these kids, and I'm going to make it happen.
Oh my God. Well, keep us posted because I would love to go.
Yeah, once
Love
we
to.
open that field, I want to invite everyone that I know that a creator on here that we've raised money with and that we've been friends with. I just want that to be a huge event. Maybe raise a lot of money on that opening day for the
Yeah.
organization with creators from all over the country coming down with using their social media to raise money for it. I think it would be a really cool experience, just like the last one I did. It was so much fun. Just
Are
getting
you
everyone on
doing
that
any?
field.
Yes. Oh my God. Are you doing any active fundraisers for it now, or is
Not
it
yet.
just in the beginning?
Yeah, we're in the beginning stages. I'm waiting on getting some paperwork back. Then we got to send the next paperwork out. So I think in
Yeah.
the next couple months, the foundation will be up and running, and then it's finding the right field and pricing it, and then fundraising.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I'm
I
excited.
that so basically your answer to my question is you don't balance it. You just add more things to your plate.
Yeah, really, I do. I'm involved in the Chamber of Commerce. I'm involved in, Kiwanis Association. I'm involved with, I started a nonprofit in town. People complaining on the moms pages how dirty the streets were. Like, why is there garbage all over the place? And I said, you know what? I'm like, instead of complaining, do something. This is in front of your house. Go outside and
Right.
clean up. So I said,
Right.
does anyone want to meet me? We'll meet at the high school on Sunday at 9 a.m. And like 30 people showed up. We went out there and we walked up the street with garbage bags. We threw all the garbage out the whole way up. We ended up going like a half mile down the road. We filled up like 20 garbage bags, maybe not 20, but we filled up a lot of garbage bags. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this was kind of fun. We were all out there bullshitting. It was a bunch of fathers, a few mothers, and we had a really good time. I'm like, let's do it next weekend. And it started out, we ended up starting a 501c3. We have a fully stocked trailer now.
Wow.
We have lawn mowers, we have rakes, shovels, it's like a full landscaper trailer. We have
Oh
all
my
the
gosh.
equipment we need. And then that turned into starting an organization called Oceanside Unified, where we wanted to bring all the organizations together in town to really be able to make things happen. So
Right.
now we have a community event, a fall festival, which we got. The first year was amazing. We drew out thousands of people. It rained all morning, but we delayed it a couple hours. We had live music, food trucks, games for the kids, axe throwing, video game truck, rock climbing wall, live music all day. The beer garden was open at the VFW across the street. We had the street closed down so you could hang out there, listen to the music, have a good time. Vendors from all over. It was an amazing time. So that was for year one. Year two, it rained all day. It was awful. It was a bad experience, but
Oh no.
we still had 1,000 people throughout the day easily. People coming, they were dancing in the rain. We have videos of kids dancing, jumping in puddles. It was still an amazing day. So I mean, we got Christmas lights in town this year. The Chamber of Commerce. It's another one I'm involved with. You know, all year, every year, every single year, all these Facebook pages. Why don't we have the snowflakes all up and down the main road? Why don't we? Why does this town have it? This town has it, and we don't. 30 years people have been complaining about this, and the Chamber of Commerce, we finally made it happen this year, which was awesome, and it really looks good when you see we got 12 of them this year, so 12 of them on the main area. It looks awesome. It really
That's
does.
amazing. So like, you said in the beginning of the interview that you were so involved with your community before you became a cop. And I love that you're still very obviously involved with your community now that you are a cop.
Absolutely.
Or do your
Yeah.
coworkers ever tell you like slow down? Like are you like you're doing too much?
They they laugh at me all the time. They're like the mayor over there, because I'm always on the phone. I don't even, I try not to be loud about it, but they hear I'm talking. They're like the mayor, the mayor, the mayor. But yeah,
Oh, they call you
they
the
don't need to
mayor?
tell me. Yeah, they call me the mayor. This kid's the mayor of town.
I can see that. I love it.
The
What are
unofficial
your,
mayor, the unofficial.
yeah, right, the unofficial mayor. What are your hopes with everything that you're doing by sharing on social media, starting these groups, fundraising for families, just being like, I don't even know. I feel like you're similar to me. And I mean, you're doing a lot more, and I applaud you for that. But what are your hopes in the future with everything that you're doing, all this work that you're putting in? Obviously, your baseball field, but as far as like the law enforcement side, I mean, I feel like you're definitely humanizing things and obviously showcasing that you're a first responder with a son who has special needs is so humbling and humanizing. And putting everything out there, what are your hopes if like someone visits your page or listens to this podcast or donates to something?
Well,
What are your hopes?
law enforcement wise, and that was one of the things I left that out, and it was about humanizing the badge at
Yeah,
first. It's a little bit more difficult. People will make fun of cops that are in uniform doing the dances, and they shouldn't be doing that. I disagree. I think it is humanizing the badge and showing people that we're no different than anybody else. We're we're human, and that's it. And
yeah,
people need to understand that. Every time you see a law enforcement video on there, doesn't matter if the cops are right or they're wrong. So it's 99% negativity about law enforcement. So
yeah,
it sucks. I wish people, had more respect for the police. It's a really tough time now. Um, the same thing. I mean, the community. If you come to my page, I just want you to see that, like, I am just as normal as you guys. I'm just
yeah,
as human as you guys, and I like to see people, like people to know how hard I work. And if everybody was to work like that in the community, it would be a much better place.
yeah. No, absolutely. Like you said, a lot of us bitch and moan about things that are wrong and expect someone else to pick up the pieces for us.
Those people on social media, they say, "Well, you don't know what I do behind the scenes." That's the same over and over. The people that complain, "You don't know what I do behind the scenes." No, we know what you do behind the scenes. You're at your laptop, behind your
Yep.
computer, behind the scenes.
Yep. You said earlier, like a lot of people talk smack about people like on TikTok and whatever. Obviously, I've dealt with a lot. And we even kind of mentioned this earlier, but a lot is from my own people. A lot's from most everybody else is fine with it, but other cops, God forbid, you get some attention. And I feel like I don't feel like they really truly feel like it's bad for law enforcement. I feel like it's a lot of jealousy. Like,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
yeah,
How's it bad for law enforcement?
it's not the amount of people that have joined, I'm sure with you too, applied to police departments after connecting with me online, said, you know what, I didn't like the police. Now I do after like seeing what you've shared. Like there's been so way more positives
Oh yeah,
than
I mean,
negatives.
and you see now, 2025 we're in right now. Social media is a big thing, and you could see
It's
these
everything.
departments. These departments are doing that now. They're having their law enforcement officers dance and promote it. So,
Yes. Yes.
so I mean,
And wouldn't you want to join a police department that's doing like these fun videos and like posting like their officers smiling, laughing, whatever, than like the police department that's not? Like I would rather join a fun one. If
I,
I'm
w-
gonna
I yeah, I
do
wish
it,
my
I want to be
department would
fun.
allow that, and I would really, really advocate for the police way more if I was allowed to.
Yes.
It's just so much you could say and do. You can't wear,
Yeah.
department logos. You can't be in uniform in pictures unless it's a ceremony.
Yeah.
People ruin that though. There's always, especially in a large police department, there's always that one person that ruins it for everybody because they do something stupid.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you have to be respectful of the uniform too. I mean, there was a video a while back. I don't know what police department, but the guy was dancing on a counter in a 7-Eleven, just in uniform. It just looked, it's just really, it was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be mindful of what you're doing
Yeah.
for sure. But I do think that eventually, like you said, it's 2025, departments are going to have no choice but to utilize social media. And then there's also people like me that do like what we do, and their departments like use them
Yeah.
for recruitment
Oh yeah.
purposes.
Oh yeah.
And that is so smart. Whereas
Yep.
like other departments are like, don't post, don't do anything. We want nothing to do with you, basically.
Yep.
Come to work and shut up and don't put anything online. Where it's like you could be utilizing me in other ways, like recruitment.
Oh
I can
yeah.
help you do the videos, what's trending, what people like. It's
Yep.
eventually,
Absolutely.
eventually they're gonna have to get with the times,
Yeah. I mean, in a
you know?
department like mine, I don't think it'll ever happen. There's just way too many of us. 36,000. It's you can't keep track of everybody. But
Yeah.
if you do find one creator, you make that person the ambassador for the department. If a few of them are the ambassadors, yeah, at least you could review what they're
Yeah.
doing, and they, I don't
Yeah.
know. Smaller departments, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. So, what are your goals for the future? And what can we expect to see and hear from you if people are listening and they start following you? What can they expect from you?
Well, I'm not going anywhere. I have 21 years in the police department. I'm not going anywhere as of yet. I'm still happy what I'm doing. Um, the baseball field thing is my real big
Yeah, I
goal, and
can't wait to
hopefully,
hear
yeah,
about that.
hopefully we can
Yeah.
make that happen. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just there's not much to do in that community, especially sports. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of bowling, which is something I can incorporate into that also in the off season. In the winter, you could have a bowling league with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think baseball is the way to go. I mean, you can't really do football. I guess you can, but basketball is one, but still not for people that are severely disabled though. That's what I think this baseball thing is just amazing. But
Mm.
that's my main goal for the future. So hopefully you guys are seeing videos of that with the completed stadium in the next few years. That would be
Oh, I
awesome.
hope so.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
So, do you have any final takeaways for our listeners? Any pieces of advice? Any final words?
I mean, especially, I mean, most of the people that are listening are social media people that have
Yep.
seen Haley on social media and they want to check out your podcast. Just be yourself on social media. Don't listen to what people say. Don't be discouraged. I never thought the day that I would have 300,000 followers on one platform. But
Crazy.
people love it. And I mean, recently it's been dropping. I don't know what's going on. The views are going down, and I'm just
I think
losing
people are just
followers daily.
deleting their TikToks,
Yeah,
to
because
be honest.
I lose. I was at 320,000. I think I'm under 300,000 now. It just keeps dropping. I don't know what's going on.
Because they keep saying on the news, like, delete your TikToks, all your info is going to go to China or whatever. So I think people are just deleting it,
Some people are
honestly.
scared and they're just deleting their accounts.
Yeah.
But they haven't been as strict as they were though. They were banning accounts, and it hasn't
Yeah.
been too bad lately. I think
Yeah.
I
Some
think they're
accounts
desperate to
should be
keep
banned,
people
though.
though. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, how is my account not banned? How's my account been banned? But some of these people are just, they're radicals.
Trust me. I've reported some things that's like said horrific things. And it's like, sorry, this doesn't violate community guidelines. I'm like,
Oh
then
yeah.
how's my little hey, be safe, like whatever video getting flagged?
But if you stitch that video and put it out there, your video would get taken down. You know what I
Yes.
mean? You stitched it, and 100,000 people agreed with you; they would take it down.
Yeah.
I've seen
It's
it,
crazy.
but I've
Yeah.
also seen it where they've taken accounts down for it, or the people have taken their account down because they were so embarrassed. There was one video where this girl, she she makes a video, and she has her brother tell the camera as a joke, not really for college. It was something to pretend that you're special needs, and the brother was like make, and I was like, holy shit, I was pissed off. I
Yeah,
stitched
that's
it.
not good.
I had a lot of people. The girl shut her account down fast, quick, and she
Wow.
apologized. But like, that's
That's
not something,
good.
you don't make fun of people with special needs. It's not cool.
Right.
It's not right. It's not funny. To make a
Right.
joke out of it.
Yeah. But it wouldn't have been taken down if you wouldn't have said anything. That's the
Yeah,
crazy part. It's like,
exactly.
yeah,
Like I said though, my main thing is stay positive, be positive, and just be yourself, and your account will grow. It will.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope we can do another episode in the future with like
Absolutely.
all your upcoming stuff
Yeah.
and like with your apparel and your fundraising. Like, guys, go and give him a follow. What's your at so everyone can follow you?
On TikTok, it's at detective underscore Diddy. And I think it's the same on Instagram.
I can look.
Or you could look me up on my Facebook is Brian Driscoll. It's the same profile
Your
pictures over
yeah,
there.
your Instagram's the same, detective underscore Diddy.
I think I have
Yeah.
a link in my a link tree that has all my accounts in there on my TikTok.
Yeah. Go give him a follow so you guys could stay up to date on all the fundraisers and stuff he does. If you have it in your heart to donate, please do. Or if this calls you to help him with, his baseball field, or you, if you're listening, you have, someone in your life with special needs. Like, obviously, I know you love to connect with other people. So message him, connect with him.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll obviously be in touch.
And make sure you, if you're just popping on this podcast right now, make sure you like this channel, you subscribe to it, and share it out. Let's go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So many listeners, but no one gives me like the stars and
That's
stuff.
it.
They just listen and leave.
I know. I have two podcasts that we're doing the Chamber of Commerce one, and I'm doing a Kiwanis one. People are watching it, but nobody's
Yeah.
subscribing.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
I
Give them a
know.
subscribe. Let's go.
I know. I have 500 listeners a week, but I only have like 200 subscribers. I'm like, come on, man. But no, thank you. Appreciate it. I should say that after every episode. Follow, subscribe, like, 5 stars.
Yeah,
Thank
throw
you
it in
so
there.
much. Thank you for being here. You guys go give them a follow
Thank you for having me.
and be safe, everyone.